The US dollar. It's more than just currency, it's the lifeblood of global trade, the reserve currency of nations. Since World War II, its dominance has been unquestioned, but like all empires, its influence is being challenged. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are at the forefront of this challenge. They represent a significant portion of the global economy. They are major players in international trade, and they are increasingly dissatisfied with the dollar's dominance. The BRICS nations are not aiming for a sudden overthrow of the dollar. They understand this is unrealistic. Instead, they are pursuing a gradual process of de-dollarization. Their goal is to reduce their dependence on the greenback. They plan to achieve this through several strategic moves. One is to increase trade amongst themselves using their own currencies or creating a new common currency. This would reduce the need for dollar transactions. Another strategy is to increase their gold reserves. Gold is a traditional safe haven asset, acting as a hedge against the volatility of fiat currencies, including the dollar. Furthermore, they are advocating for reforms in global financial institutions. They want more representation for emerging economies, believing this would lead to a more balanced global financial system. These measures are driven by a desire for greater economic sovereignty. They want to be less vulnerable to US economic policies and have more control over their own financial destinies. Despite the BRICS' ambitions, de-dollarization faces a steep uphill battle. The US dollar enjoys several advantages that are difficult to overcome. These advantages are deeply entrenched in the global financial system. First and foremost is the sheer size and strength of the US economy. It remains the world's largest economy, and the dollar benefits from this economic powerhouse, providing stability and confidence to investors worldwide. Second, the US boasts deep and liquid financial markets. US Treasury bonds are considered the safest asset class in the world, highly sought after by investors seeking a safe haven for their capital. Third, there is a lack of a viable alternative to the dollar. No other currency currently possesses the same level of international trust and acceptance. The euro is a contender, but it faces its own set of challenges. The dollar's dominance is a product of decades of economic and geopolitical power. It's a formidable foe for any currency seeking to challenge its throne. Section 4. A bridge too far. Obstacles to de-dollarization. The BRICS nations face significant hurdles in their quest for de-dollarization. One major obstacle is the lack of internal cohesion within the group. The BRICS are a diverse group with different economic interests and political systems. For instance, India and China have a long-standing border dispute. This geopolitical tension could hinder their ability to cooperate on economic matters. Another challenge is the lack of institutional infrastructure. A new currency or payment system requires robust institutions to ensure its stability and credibility. Building such institutions from scratch is a daunting task. Furthermore, de-dollarization could have negative consequences for the BRICS themselves. It could increase transaction costs and reduce access to global capital markets. These costs could outweigh the perceived benefits. The road to de-dollarization is fraught with obstacles. It remains to be seen whether the BRICS can overcome these challenges and achieve their ambitious goal. Section 5. The ripple effect, global implications of a new order. The BRICS push for de-dollarization has far-reaching implications for the global economy. A shift away from the dollar as the primary reserve currency could usher in an era of greater financial volatility. With no clear alternative, investors might flock to other safe haven assets such as gold or Swiss francs. This could lead to price distortions and imbalances in global markets. Moreover, a multipolar currency system could fragment global trade. Countries might resort to currency wars to gain a competitive advantage. This could stifle international trade and investment. However, a more multipolar system could also bring some benefits. It could reduce the dominance of the US in global affairs. It could give emerging economies a greater voice in shaping the global financial order. The implications of de-dollarization are complex and multifaceted. It's a high-stakes game with both risks and potential rewards for the global economy. Section 6, a balancing act, the delicate dance of diversification. While full de-dollarization might be a distant prospect, the BRICS' efforts are already prompting changes in the global financial landscape. Countries are increasingly diversifying their foreign exchange reserves. Central banks are adding more euros, yuan, and gold to their holdings. This trend reflects a growing desire to reduce reliance on any single currency. Furthermore, we are witnessing the emergence of alternative payment systems. These systems bypass the SWIFT network, which is dominated by the US. This allows countries to conduct transactions in their own currencies or through barter arrangements. This diversification reflects a growing awareness of the risks associated with a dollar-centric system. It also highlights the desire for greater financial autonomy and resilience. The global financial system is undergoing a gradual but significant transformation. The rise of the BRICS and their de-dollarization efforts are accelerating this process. Section 7. Dream or reality? The future of the dollar in a multipolar world. The de-dollarization debate ultimately boils down to one question. Is it a realistic goal or just a dream? The answer, as with many things in geopolitics and economics, is nuanced. The dollar's dominance, built over decades, won't vanish overnight. The US economy remains strong and its financial markets are unmatched in depth and liquidity. However, the BRICS efforts are not without merit. They have highlighted the inherent vulnerabilities of a dollar-centric system. They have shown that a multipolar world demands a more balanced currency system. The future is likely to be characterized by a balancing act. The dollar will likely remain the dominant global currency for the foreseeable future, but its dominance will be less absolute. We are moving towards a more multipolar world, a world where multiple currencies coexist and compete. The BRICS de-dollarization efforts are both a reflection of this shift and a driving force behind it. Only time will tell how this delicate dance between the old and the new will play out. Section 8. Washington's policy of selective blindness in the Middle East. As the United States navigates its role in the rapidly changing global landscape, its approach to the Middle East reveals a complex web of strategic interests and selective engagement. For decades, the US has been a key player in the region, often prioritizing stability and access to resources over democratic ideals and human rights. This policy of selective blindness has led to alliances with regimes that align with US interests regardless of their domestic policies. For instance, despite widespread reports of human rights abuses, countries like Saudi Arabia and Egypt remain crucial allies. This pragmatic approach allows the US to maintain influence and counterbalance rivals such as Iran and Russia. However, this strategy is not without its critics. Many argue that by turning a blind eye to authoritarian practices, the US undermines its credibility and moral authority on the global stage. This selective engagement has also fueled anti-American sentiments, providing fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root. Moreover, Washington's focus on short-term gains has often led to long-term instability. The US invasion of Iraq in 2003, justified by the presence of weapons of mass destruction that were never found, serves as a cautionary tale. The resulting power vacuum contributed to the rise of ISIS and ongoing sectarian violence. As the world moves towards a multipolar system, the US faces a critical choice: continue its policy of selective blindness or adopt a more balanced and principled approach. The future of the Middle East and America's role in it hinges on this decision. A nuanced and consistent policy could foster genuine stability and pave the way for a more equitable international order. In the end, the question remains, can Washington afford to keep its selective blindness, or will it embrace a new vision for the Middle East? Only time will reveal the answer. To fully understand Washington's policy of selective blindness in the Middle East, we must delve into the historical context that has shaped these dynamics. The US involvement in the region dates back to the early 20th century, but it was during World War II that America's strategic interests began to crystallize. The discovery of vast oil reserves in the Arabian Peninsula transformed the Middle East into a vital area for US foreign policy. The 1945 meeting between President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Saudi King Abdulaziz laid the groundwork for a deep and enduring alliance centered on oil and security. In the post-war era, the Cold War further entrenched US interests in the Middle East. The Truman Doctrine, aimed at containing Soviet influence, led to American support for regimes that opposed communism, regardless of their domestic policies. This period saw the US backing the Shah of Iran, whose rule was marked by repression but was seen as a bulwark against Soviet expansion. The 1979 Iranian Revolution and the subsequent hostage crisis were pivotal moments that reshaped US strategy. The fall of the Shah and the rise of an anti-American theocracy in Iran prompted Washington to strengthen ties with other regional powers, such as Saudi Arabia and Egypt, to counterbalance Iranian influence. In the 1980s, the US supported Iraq during its war with Iran, despite Saddam Hussein's brutal regime. This pragmatic approach was driven by the desire to contain Iran, showcasing the recurring theme of selective engagement based on strategic interests. The end of the Cold War did not diminish America's involvement in the Middle East. The 1991 Gulf War, led by President George H.W. Bush, aimed to expel Iraqi forces from Kuwait and protect global oil supplies. The war highlighted the importance of the region to US economic and security interests. The events of September 11, 2001 marked another turning point. The US launched the war on terror, leading to the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq. The 2003 Iraq invasion, justified by the false premise of weapons of mass destruction, resulted in long-term instability and the rise of extremist groups like ISIS. Throughout these decades, the US has often prioritized immediate strategic gains over long-term stability and human rights. This historical context explains why Washington continues to navigate a complex web of alliances and rivalries in the Middle East, often turning a blind eye to authoritarian practices in favor of maintaining influence and countering adversaries. As the world shifts towards a multipolar order, understanding this history is crucial. It provides insights into the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for US policy in the Middle East. Will Washington continue its selective blindness, or will it embrace a more balanced and principled approach? The decisions made today will shape the future of the region and America's role within it. To fully grasp the nuances of Washington's selective blindness in the Middle East, we must dissect the strategic interests that underpin this policy. These interests span economic, political, and military dimensions, each intertwining to create a complex web of motivations. Economically, the Middle East holds unparalleled significance due to its vast oil reserves. Control over these resources has long been a cornerstone of US foreign policy. Ensuring the free flow of oil from the region is crucial not only for American energy security, but also for maintaining global economic stability. Disruptions in the Middle East can send shockwaves through international markets, making economic considerations a paramount factor in shaping US actions. Politically, the Middle East serves as a pivotal arena in the broader context of global power dynamics. The US has consistently sought to counterbalance adversarial influences, whether it be the Soviet Union during the Cold War or contemporary rivals like Iran and Russia. By supporting regimes that align with American interests, Washington aims to foster a geopolitical environment conducive to its strategic objectives. This often involves backing authoritarian governments that, despite their domestic policies, provide a bulwark against hostile forces. Militarily, the US presence in the Middle East is a testament to its commitment to safeguarding its interests. From establishing military bases to conducting operations against extremist groups, American forces play a crucial role in maintaining regional stability. The strategic positioning of military assets in the Middle East allows the US to project power and respond swiftly to emerging threats, reinforcing its influence in the region. However, this intricate interplay of economic, political, and military interests comes at a cost. The prioritization of strategic gains often leads to compromises on human rights and long-term stability. Washington's selective blindness is a calculated choice, driven by the desire to maintain its hegemony in a region fraught with complexities. As we move forward in a multipolar world, the challenge for US policymakers will be to navigate these interests while striving for a more balanced and principled approach. The future of the Middle East and America's role within it will hinge on the ability to reconcile immediate strategic needs with a commitment to enduring stability and human rights. As we delve deeper into Washington's selective blindness in the Middle East, the consequences of this policy become glaringly evident. The region has long been a cauldron of instability, and the US approach has often exacerbated these tensions. One of the most significant repercussions is the perpetuation of regional instability. By supporting authoritarian regimes that prioritize their own survival over the well-being of their populations, Washington inadvertently fuels resentment and unrest. This creates a breeding ground for extremist ideologies and militant groups, further destabilizing the region. Internationally, the US faces mounting criticisms for its actions in the Middle East. Allies and adversaries alike question the moral and ethical implications of backing oppressive governments. Human rights organizations consistently highlight the discrepancies between America's professed values and its foreign policy choices. These criticisms not only tarnish the US's global image, but also undermine its credibility on the world stage. Moreover, the strategic focus on short-term gains often leads to long-term consequences. By prioritizing immediate economic and military interests, the US risks alienating future generations and fostering a legacy of distrust. This can hinder diplomatic efforts and complicate the path to lasting peace and stability in the Middle East. The intricate web of consequences and criticisms underscores the complexity of Washington's selective blindness. As the world moves towards a multipolar order, the US must grapple with the challenge of balancing its strategic interests with a commitment to universal human rights and enduring stability. The future of the Middle East and America's role within it will depend on the ability to navigate these turbulent waters with wisdom and integrity. As we look ahead, the future implications of Washington's policy in the Middle East are both profound and multifaceted. Regionally, the perpetuation of support for authoritarian regimes could lead to an enduring cycle of unrest. This instability may foster environments where extremist ideologies can take root and flourish, posing ongoing security threats not just to the Middle East but to the global community. Economically, the region's volatility could disrupt global markets, particularly in the energy sector. The Middle East remains a crucial supplier of oil and natural gas, and any significant upheaval could send shockwaves through global supply chains, affecting economies worldwide. This potential for economic disruption underscores the interconnectedness of our global system and the need for a stable Middle East. On a geopolitical level, Washington's selective blindness may drive regional powers to seek new alliances and partnerships outside of traditional Western influence. Countries like China and Russia are already making strategic inroads, offering alternative models of partnership that could shift the balance of power. This emerging multipolar landscape presents both challenges and opportunities for the US and its allies, requiring a nuanced approach to diplomacy and international relations. Furthermore, the moral and ethical ramifications of US policy cannot be ignored. The ongoing support for oppressive regimes stands in stark contrast to America's professed commitment to human rights and democracy. This dissonance risks alienating not only the populations directly affected by these policies, but also the broader international community. Restoring credibility and trust will be essential for the US to reassert its role as a global leader in promoting peace and stability. In conclusion, the future implications of Washington's policy in the Middle East are complex and far-reaching. Navigating these challenges will require a delicate balance of strategic interests, ethical considerations, and a commitment to long-term stability. As the world continues to evolve towards a more multipolar order, the actions taken today will shape the geopolitical landscape for generations to come.